Are you looking to get your foot in the door in a new career and you're just not sure where to start? Well, stick around because in this video, I'm going to share with you how to get a job with little to no experience. Hey everybody, it's Brian from A Life After Layoff, and I want to talk to you about how to get a job with little to no experience. Now, as a corporate recruiter with over 20 years of experience, I've interviewed and hired thousands of people into some of the world's most well-known and well-respected companies. So I know a thing or two about how to get your career started in a corporation. So the old adage of what comes first, the chicken or the egg, really seems to apply, especially when you are looking at a new career, whether you're entry level and looking for your first opportunity out of school, or you're somebody that's in the middle of a career shift and attempting to try something completely different. When you're faced with that situation, it really becomes a challenge of not having any experience to get qualified for a position, but you can't qualify for the position because you can never get the experience. And I would say when you see those opportunities posted where they do require 1 to 2 years of experience, I would use it a little, kind of take a little bit of a grain of salt, because typically it's a hiring manager kind of going aspirational with it, where he would like to see somebody that's had some exposure to the type of work. But nonetheless, it is very frustrating to see that type of requirement put into a job posting and then not being qualified for a position because they're asking for that. So there are some strategies that you can apply to position yourself to be the best fit for those type of roles and give yourself a reasonable chance to get that first phone call. But before we get too far into it, if you're interested in more videos on how to further your career just like this one, make sure you hit the subscribe button. All right, so let's cover some strategies on how you can land a job with no experience. So the first tip is going to be mostly applicable to people who are still in school, and if you're looking for your first opportunity, I would highly suggest that you look into co-ops and internships. And the purpose is to really get real-life work experience in the types of settings that you might find yourself in your career. So if you're somebody that has not experienced a certain type of work, it's a great opportunity to try it out, see if it's even something that resonates with you and something that you want to develop a long-term career for. And you'll have some real-life experience that you can pull from in interview answers. So I highly recommend, if you're still in school or you're just about to graduate, or maybe even just graduated and you still haven't found your first job, go back to your school's Career Services Center and see if you can find any internships that are posted on their job posting system. Now, the second thing that I would recommend is to develop a core list of skills. And so when I mean core list of skills, they're going to be things that are going to be pretty universal to just about any professional job that you're working in. Communication skills, you might have teamwork skills, you might have organizational skills, but there's going to be a list of core skills that everybody should have when you enter the workforce. So try to figure out creative ways to demonstrate those skills in your personal life, and you'll be able to draw on them when you go into an interview setting. The next major thing that I suggest is looking for projects that you can get involved with that would help demonstrate skills related to your career path. In a college setting, it's really common to be in lab situations where you might be able to get exposure to the type of work that you want to do going forward. Also, try looking at some of the college professors that you've worked with and ask them if there's projects that you can get involved with and things that you can start to apply in order to get your resume loaded up with some of those keywords. And if you're somebody that is not in college or you're trying to get your foot in the door in a new career, think outside of the box. Are there organizations that you can volunteer for in order to get that experience? But the main thing is trying to get some experience on your resume that you can pull from in an interview setting, and then also to catch the attention of the recruiter. Because when we go through a resume, we're looking really quickly, and you want to make sure that we stop on you, which leads us full circle into developing that killer resume. So you have to have a great resume, especially if you're somebody that doesn't have experience in the field that you're applying to. And if you're focusing on the previous tip, that's going to give you a lot of things to draw from to put into your resume in order to get my attention. Listen, on an entry-level job, I understand that the people who are applying are probably not going to have a lot of experience in the field. So I'm not expecting that from you. But because the volume of applications is so high, you really have to do something to stand out from the crowd. You might be competing with anywhere from 100 to over 1,000 applications, and you have to stand out. So that's why the killer resume is so important. And if you're somebody that is struggling with your resume, I actually developed a course called Resume Rocketfuel. It's designed to teach you exactly how to write a resume that's going to get a recruiter to stop on you and pick up the phone for that first interview. I'll leave a link below. All right, so we have our killer resume and we've got some skills that we're building up. The next thing that we should focus on is personal branding. If you're not thinking about personal branding, it's going to be critically important for you as the person who doesn't have the experience in the field that you're working in to show a level of interest and expertise in something that you just haven't demonstrated yet. So that's what personal branding is all about. And we can do that in a lot of creative ways, from developing blogs, creating websites, writing articles. getting very involved in LinkedIn. So there's a lot of different ways that you can show your interest in the type of career that you're interested in going into without actually having real experience. Hiring managers actually appreciate that stuff because they can see that you're very engaged and you're probably going to be an engaged employee if they were to hire you. Not to mention, it also gives you some great interview answers when you get to that point. All right, so let's talk about LinkedIn. If you're not on LinkedIn, I highly recommend that you go over and set up an account and really start to populate it, because LinkedIn is going to give you the best opportunity to develop a personal brand and reach the most amount of hiring managers and recruiters, because it is truly a powerful tool. All of us recruiters use it, and most hiring managers that work for major corporations are going to be on there as well. So not only can you develop your personal brand by using LinkedIn, by putting some of that content on there, but you can also develop networks. So networks is the next major thing that you really need to focus on, especially as an entry-level person. When you're entry-level, you're really competing against so many other people. Trying to get a job through an open post is one of the slowest and hardest ways to get a job. A much more effective way is through your network. So if you're somebody that has developed a nice social network on LinkedIn or some other platforms, then you're going to have a leg up on the competition, because most people are not doing this. Find relevant hiring managers in your field, find relevant recruiters, and do some preliminary outreach. But the idea is that you're now directly connecting with somebody, showing an interest in the type of work that they're doing, because it's not unheard of that a hiring manager reaches out to me, the recruiter, and says, hey, I actually had this candidate reach out to me through LinkedIn. I checked out their profile and they seem pretty interested. Why don't you give them a call and see what they look like, and then set me up for a phone interview? If you do it in a craftful way, it can lead to opportunities for the person who is more proactive. All right, so let's talk about company size for a minute. I made a recent video about large versus small companies and which one is better for your career. A large company is going to have a lot more opportunities. They're going to have a lot bigger volume of recs that they're posting, but it might be harder to get your foot in the door because you're competing with a lot more people. If you're entry level or you're trying to switch careers, it might actually be better to find a small niche company in your local market. That way you can get your foot in the door, get some experience on your resume, and then make the move to the larger corporation when it's appropriate for your career. So we talked about using your network in order to leverage career opportunities. An even more powerful way is to use the side door. What's the side door? Well, that would be people that are already working in the industries that you want to work in. Maybe it's a family member or a friend who is already working for a corporation in your local area. It's worth asking them if they can help you get in front of the right hiring manager, and who knows, it might lead to an opportunity. So think about people in your world that you can leverage to get an opportunity to get your name in front of the hiring manager. So the last major tip that I want to give you is just to be consistent. Being in an active job search can be a very daunting task, especially when you're trying to break into a new field. Consistency is the key. And if you're consistently looking for jobs and you're consistently one of the first few applications, your name is going to get seen. And if you've applied some of the other tips that I'm suggesting, you're going to put yourself into the best position to get noticed and ultimately land that first interview. Listen, I know it can seem daunting to get your start in a career where you have no experience, but it can be done. It's going to require some strategy and a lot of hard work, but you can do it if you are dedicated and you have a plan. If you're somebody that's struggling in your job search, I actually have a website called alifeafterlayoff.com. It's loaded with tips and tricks on how to get noticed by recruiters, how to make your way through the interviewing process, and ultimately how to land your dream job. And I also offer some of my deepest and most intimate knowledge in the form of some training courses that will help prepare you to ultimately get through that hiring process and land that dream job. Try to apply some of these tips, keep steady with your job search, and eventually you're going to land it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.